Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're live on NTV this morning, and we at Reproductive Health Uganda, we welcome you to this morning's dialogue, which is about adolescent health, life skills, and life skills education for young people. We are having a panel of 5, and I'll introduce the first 3 this morning. Myself, I'm your host this morning. My name is James Tumsime. I work for Reproductive Health Uganda as the manager for gender and youth. On my immediate left, I'll ask her to introduce herself right away.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stella Kentosi, the Executive Director of the National Forum of People Living with HIV and AIDS Networks in Uganda and Afofano, but also the Chairperson of the Board of the Sexual Reproductive Health and Rights Alliance Uganda. Welcome.
Yes, Daudi.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers. And my name is David Talima. I work with Straight Talk Foundation. I'm the Director of Programs.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nicole Musime, a student at Hana International School, Uganda.
Thank you very much. So this morning we have a combination of people that are in the direct implementation of life skills education programs for young people, but also we have a representative of young people themselves. I'll begin by asking Ms. Stella Kentosi. Ms. Stella, what do you do for the SRHR Alliance, and why do we think that it's an important thing to do?
Yeah, thank you so much, James. Our dear viewers, I would like to inform you that we are an alliance of sexual reproductive health and rights, and our core role is to ensure that young people, wherever they are able to access information, are able to access services. We are a team of 8 partners, but also bringing on board other partners as well. We are Nafupano, where I come from. We have Reproductive Health Uganda, Straight Talk Foundation, Reach a Hand Uganda. We have Resource Development, Center for Health, Human Rights and Development, and Family Life Education Program in Busoga. This alliance was formed to specifically address the needs of young people. We began with Busoga, where we have the Get Up, Speak Out program, but in our respective capacities, in our respective mandates, we cover the entire country. And one of the issues that really attracted us to come in and serve the young people was the issue of sexuality education, issues around life skilling, and how young people can access the services, can access the information in order to be healthy, to be productive, and contribute meaningfully to national development. As an alliance, we feel that the young people, which sometimes we refer to as the silent population, they are the window of hope. They are our opportunity for the future. And we look at young people who are HIV positive, but also young people who are affected by HIV, but also alongside other eminent and emerging trends. We are aware of issues of teenage pregnancy, we have child marriages, we have people who access condoms but they do not know how to use the condoms. There are people who need family planning services, but along the way we have issues of gender-based violence, and all these pull the young person, these and other factors pull the young person down. And yet this is the young person who is going to be the future leader of tomorrow. So as an alliance, we came on board to address these pertinent issues. We want to have an inclusive sexuality education where a person will be able to access the information, access the services, be skilled enough to have that highest team that one can stand up and say, this is my problem, and this is how I will address it, and this is the person to address it. So we want a holistic person. We want someone, this young person, to come in and demand for the services, demand for information, and this can only come in if the alliance teams up together as an alliance, but also with other partners to ensure that these young people get the services they need. Comprehensive, holistic, integrative, and then we'll be able to have a strong population of young people that are able to contribute to the development of this country.
Thank you very much, Stella. Stella has spoken of 8 partners within the Sexual Reproductive Health and Rights Alliance, and they mainly work for young people. That's what I've heard clearly coming out. So I'll go to our own young person who is present today, Nicole, a student of Senior 6 from Hannah School. How has been your experience in this lockdown period?
Thank you so much. One of the things everyone has to actually realize and get to know is this has been one of the toughest times we've had, because by this time, under normal circumstances, I'm supposed to be at school preparing for my UNM, right? Yeah, but then get us to a picture where I have spent 85% of my time at school and I'm never with my parents. And the biggest population of parents we have are very shy parents who are actually always busy. So a child or a student is home with a parent, but I personally, I never get to sit down with my parents and they'll tell me a lot of things about my growth, because I'm growing up, and most of the times when that gap is not linked, it's actually very bad. So we are facing such a problem that we are in home, especially with parents and lockdown. So the SRH information we usually get is not basically our parents, but where is it coming from? That should be the biggest question we have. Is it is basically coming from social media, and whereby you cannot say everything we're getting from there is practically right, and that is a gap. How are we going to make sure that young people are receiving information which is accurate, especially on social media, because everyone is getting information from there, and there is a big gap with young people living with HIV. How is the situation treating them in a way that they used to get their medicine and everything quite well those days, but now everything is, we are living a new normal, which is obviously very hard to live in. And we have another segment of young people who are living in prisons of violence. I'll give an example of a young girl who's living with a guardian, but then this guardian sometimes sexually harasses this child. So how is she going to reach out to the community, especially in a time where everyone is supposed to be in their house? My mom usually says, "Bulimbuzi kunkondo yayo." So how is she going to reach out to someone else to help her? She's obviously going to stay in that prison up to when, God knows, when this virus gets to
So
come
Nicole,
down.
from your experience, I know that you've been home for 4+ months now.
Yes.
Do you hear from your peers? What are you hearing they're going through? How are they getting the basic information on growing up that they used to get well in school? You mentioned social media. Are you on social media yourself?
Yes.
What kind of information do you access on the social media and your peers?
Okay, thank you so much. One thing you have to know about people who are growing up is we have this element that is usually part of us, which is called curiosity. The kind of information I might be looking for on social media is not what my friend is going to look for. And you realize that we have a lot of freedom, and that is a problem, that most of the information we are getting is not pirated. Now, how are we going to live in a kind of society which doesn't have pirated information? Now, that is how most of them are going to start Googling and watching things which are not really the kind of concept they're supposed to take in. And what happens after that? One thing you have to know, Mr. Moderator, is I have to be honest with the world. Young people at the moment are having very irresponsible sexual intercourse. One thing that most of the parents do not want to believe. Okay, some of them will do it with a consent, but then some of them are doing it because maybe we can say they are idle, there is incest going on, and that is one thing everyone has to believe, that by the time school opens, I think 85% of young girls are going back to school pregnant. So how is that going
Hold
to be
it there,
addressed?
Nicole. Nicole just mentioned something that is not news. You've been watching media and you've seen that many young people all over the country, especially in the rural countryside, are pregnant. We were in Ginger a few weeks ago, and a girl said out of her class, 2 of them, P7, are not pregnant, the rest are pregnant. So that's when I go to Mr. Talima from Straight Talk Foundation. What's an organization yours doing around some of these issues? How are you trying to help these young people?
Thank you very much. David Talima again from Straight Talk Foundation. Over the years, said, dating back to 1997, one of our biggest interventions that we've had has been through the media. And when I talk about the media, I'm talking about print media, I'm talking about radio, and I'm talking about television, okay? And one of the things that we want to do is to increase the information available to the young people. In developing life skills or the psychosocial competence of young people, it's important that you avail the information that young people can identify with. And as far as they can identify with the information, then that means that interaction happens. That's where this life skills building component comes in. So for Straight Talk, through the print media, again, through our Young Talk and Straight Talk, we've tried to make sure that information flows down to the last bit of the young people. During the COVID-19 period, we've had our team go down and get materials, collect materials for developing the Young Talk and Straight Talk, because we know that we want to get information that is relevant to the young people. And so we've had quite a number of Straight Talk and Young Talk supported by UNICEF that we've had distributed down in Karamoja, talking about issues of how to protect from COVID, talking about issues of teenage pregnancies, early marriages, and the role of parents. How can parents come in, especially during this period, to support the children into one, helping them look at the material that's available and have a discussion that is taking the information further to the skills building component. And then through radio, we've had interactive radio sessions in different radio stations. Around the country, we work with like 40 stations, where we invite resourceful people who come and discuss pertinent issues about issues that are affecting young people and how young people can cope with the situation. And so it is something that we're doing to make sure that there are grounds available to make sure that the young person is able to get information and make decisions that are meaningful, especially during this challenging time.
Thank you, David. From what you've said, it appears you're trying to reach those who are already privileged with perhaps means of communication like radio and TV. Are there other activities perhaps that you are doing beyond those who have access to radio and TV? And just to also be precise, as a parent, are you doing anything to target parents in this regard, because they are at the receiving end, they are at the challenging point of being with their children for all these months and they really don't know what to say?
I think with the print media, we've tried to make sure that information gets to the last bit. We're working with structures on ground, like our junior journalists, the young people, reaching out with information to young people. And so they know where these young people are. In as long as we get the information, the Young Talk and Straight Talk materials, to the districts, to the sub-counties, these young people are ready to take it down to their homes. Two, the issue of parents. Yes, we're trying to bring parents on board. You and I know that that is not easy. She's just mentioned it. She's staying with the parents, and they never get that kind of communication. But parents out there, I'm a parent too, and I want to encourage you that it's important that you sit with a young person, talk about issues. It's not yet late. The earlier you do it, the better. Start discussing smaller, simple things, so that when you get to these heavier things, issues in life, growing up, changing bodies, you can easily then interact and talk at that level. And I have a parent who told me that, no, I can't do that. You people are working with organizations that are going to do that. They are sent to school. The teachers can help out. You and I know that for many times we've seen papers on the streets talking about a teacher who has defiled a young girl, raped a young lady. So these are the people that we are sending probably. Charity begins at home. I would encourage that parents, you need to get on board and see how we can support together the children. We are going to give information, but even the TV that we're talking about today, because that's the essence of this all, that at the end of the day, when the young people watch these episodes, they are challenged. They want someone to talk about what they've seen, but you're not available.
Hold it there, Daudi. Thank you very much for that. Up to that, I'll go back to the chairperson here. The chairperson, working with all these organizations, but also being a parent. And now that we have come up with a campaign that is going to put this information for life skills and health on TV, what is your message to the parents? What do you think they can do different?
Thank you so much. One, I'm a teacher. Two, I'm a parent. And having worked with young people in the various schools that I taught, but also various organizations, I think I left out one of our strong pillars of the Alliance, working with young people, the Uganda Network of Young People Living with HIV. I think parents should not abscond from their responsibilities. We are living in the new abnormal. I call it new abnormal because it is not normal at all. And the COVID-19 situation has showed us that family is number one. We are all locked up in our homes. So we cannot delegate our responsibilities to other people. If someone, as David has indicated, that the school is there to handle, the school has been closed for many months and we are not sure when the school will open. If you are saying the churches and the mosque and the other places of worship will take responsibility, these have also been closed. If you are talking of the psychosocial support groups and the peers coming in, the youth-friendly corners, these have been out of reach. So family remains number one. And therefore, as parents, let us now get back to our drawing board and know that the children are our responsibility. These other people, other players come in to support the role that we are supposed to play. I know people find it difficult to talk to their children about the issues of growing up, about sexuality, but the most important thing is those who have done it have actually bonded better with the children and the young people that are there. Those who are still there in hiding, then work around with the other close relatives. I have a number of friends who come in and say, now you have this daughter here, I think she needs to be talked to. And we come in and support. So let us not delegate our responsibilities and think that other players will come in when we are the very people who are with these children. And let us take note of any change. If my child has been living like this and I see this change, this is the time for a parent to come in and find out what could be the problem.
Thank you, Stella. Stella, from everything you've said, I could say Stella has said the school is closed, so there's no teacher coming to teach your child. The church is closed, so there is no priest. The mosque is closed, so the sheikh is not coming. So the circle is getting smaller and smaller and coming back to the parent. I'll go back to Nicole. Nicole, from the experience of the last few months, what do you think you would feel your father, your mother, your immediate family would have done better to make sure that they protect your health, they protect your life skills, you're able to take care of yourself? What do you think they should do different?
Thank you so much. Well, what I would think every parent would do is a parent is supposed to be everyone's first best friend, because as my parent, I expect you to know me inside out, and a kind of connection the one is supposed to have is one that is supposed to be born to protect them. But if that doesn't happen, of course, it's going to keep us into our daily routine of when I get a problem, I'm going to ask my schoolmate about it, and that is how we get to mess up. Then after a parent is like, my child is so spoiled. But then the question is, where were you when your child was actually getting spoiled? Did you give them time? We just need a little bit of that time, because we know they're busy, they're trying to make a future for us, but we actually need them. Because a child would want to talk to a parent, but would be like, how do I start to say this? Where do I start? So it is a small kind of bond that we need to bring back, because everyone has been used to the thing of go to school. You have to go to school, because all parents think that teachers are going to teach us everything, but then school is not everything. Yeah, give an example of the COVID-19. It has showed us that anything can happen at any time. So our parents, we need them. We obviously need them, because when anything happens, they will blame us, but then they will not look at the other facts that they were too busy to have a little time for us.
Thank you, Nicole. Nicole raises one of the most important parenting lessons of the day, is to give time to the children, to make sure that you know what's happening around them. not to blame the result when you are part of the process. So they do not get spoiled out of the blue. They get spoiled gradually, and as a parent, the ultimate gift you can give is time. I want to thank you this far, and I want to request for a break right now, and we shall come back and continue with this discussion. Thank you very much. Welcome back from that short break. We are back live on NTV with the Health and Life Skills Education launch today. So we have a set of new panelists. Nicole, you have new company. I'll ask the gentleman, beginning with the one next to Nicole, to say who they are, what they do for the SRHR Alliance.
My name is Jackson Chepweto, the Executive Director for Reproductive Health Uganda, a very strong member of the SRHR Alliance, the former chairperson of the Alliance just before Stella. And we are very excited to be part of this session where we are going to discuss sexuality education among our young people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Yes, my name is Charles Owekmeno. I work as the National Coordinator of the Sexual Reproductive Health and Rights Alliance Uganda. And dear viewers, thank you so much for keeping it on NTV, and we are so glad that this day has come to pass.
Thank you very much, Charles. Welcome, Jackson. Just going straight to Jackson, what motivated you, the Alliance, and especially yourself? You know, we've known you to be a person who has been on the business of young people staying safe and healthy for so long. Why this new approach?
Yeah, we are aware of the challenges. We are aware of the challenges which COVID-19 has come along with. The first one is that it has interrupted our traditional ways of reaching out to our key stakeholders, the young people. It has interrupted the intervention between health workers and parents. It has kept people at home. Now, that said, one of the means of reaching out to the majority of the population today is through media, TV, radio, print, social media, especially for the young people. So we are passionate to reach out to our young people with messages that support them in the growing up process, body development, and a number of other topical issues which we shall be discussing in detail in this session. For me, personally, I'm very excited because it is the first ever series which is going to help, especially at this time when we are grappling with teenage pregnancy, where each and every stakeholder is rolling their heads as to how to mitigate the challenge.
Thank you, Jackson. Charles, what are you exactly going to do in these series that are starting soon? When are they starting?
Thank you, moderator. The series are starting on Monday next week. So today is just the launch. And we have had really a number of high quality profiled moderators who have been handling the sessions, and we have worked closely with Ministry of Education. The content that is going to air out were actually reviewed and approved by Ministry of Education. So on Monday 31st is when we are airing our first session, and the time is between 11 and midday. This is the time that we expect all the students to be at home, and also for parents who are at home, you're also invited to join the discussion. So we shall be having the session start then on Monday, but some of the key contents that we are looking at is we are going to be discussing issues of growth and development. I remember Nicole talking about this, that they don't understand them. So we are having high profile facilitators that will talk to you about this, and we even interact with some of your fellow young people. We're also going to talk about issues of menstrual hygiene management, menstrual health generally. And we also have facilitators who have handled that very well. Life skills, you need life skills. And like Nicole was saying, you need the parents, but you also need to have some basic skills that you can use to understand the environment around you, to understand the risk around you, and to also understand how you can prevent those risks. So we are also going to have a very strong discussion on life skills. The other content that we have prepared for young people will be around issues of sexual and gender-based violence. And we know the recent media reports that have been coming up. How do we handle this? And we have facilitators who have effectively handled this topic. Please don't miss out on this. There's also another module around relationships, handling relationships. This has been a big issue for young people, and we have gotten a lot of feedback around it. So that's also one of the major topics that you should look up for during these sessions. And the other one is on drugs and substance abuse. We know most of the young people are suffering in silence about this. Even parents, some parents are failing how to handle. How do they approach this? And we have facilitators who have handled this effectively. Please make sure that your children don't miss out on these sessions. The other session is around teenage and unwanted pregnancies. This is also actually, I call it a national crisis. It's something that we must handle seriously as a country if we want to protect our girl child and even the boy child. So we are going to have a very elaborate discussion around this and how we can prevent teenage pregnancy. And then we are also going to talk about sexually transmitted diseases. Most adolescents are suffering in silence. They don't know what to do. They even don't understand the type of sexually transmitted diseases they are suffering from. So we have facilitators who have also handled this topic effectively. And then finally, we shall also discuss around mental health of the adolescents and young people during this COVID period. Nicole said they are at home. They are used to being in school. So what is happening? Are they mentally stable? And how can we support them? So we have a session that will handle that. So those are some of the key topics that we shall be discussing, and then we shall be receiving your feedbacks about how we can address the issues being raised effectively.
Thank you, Charles. The distribution of what is going to be discussed seems to be quite wide. And you've talked about issues of mental health, you've talked about issues of sexually transmitted infections. I want to go back to Jackson as a parent this time, step out a bit. Do you see your children being challenged in any way mental that you had not anticipated until now?
Yeah, I want to mention this. My youngest daughter, she's just 8. And until a few days ago, every day, she would wake up and say, "Daddy, you mean I'm going to repeat the same class again next year?" Now, I have no answer for that. So you can imagine what is running in the mind of that young person. I have also a bigger daughter who is now making 12. And you can see she must be having so many questions running in her head. Because she's also growing up. She had prepared herself to be crossing to the next class, candidate class, but she's not yet there. So that is the anxiety we are talking about. And that anxiety, if not managed well, and I can tell you as a parent, sometimes we are in total dilemma. You get it? Now, one of the things Charles mentioned, or he didn't mention, is, which is going to be discussed on this TV series, is about menstrual hygiene. Now, the senior women teachers have been doing this work for us, preparing the children in upper primary, but now they are with us, the parents. How many of us, the parents, are able to walk through this teenager who is growing into adolescence professionally and tell them the right things? The other one is making these children adjust to the lifestyles of staying at home, where they are demanded to do house chores and whatever. If not managed well, you end up, we the parents end up harassing them, not motivating them to know that whatever they are supposed to do, they should be doing it willingly and comfortably. Now, this is what we should be waiting to see from this TV series.
Thank you, Jackson. Jackson, the TV series that are sponsored by NTV, Straight Talk Foundation, Reproductive Health Uganda, as part of the Sexual Reproductive Health Alliance, are targeted towards who? Is it the children? Is it the parents? Who is it that they are targeting? And what do you want them to learn from them specifically at the end of the few days?
Yeah, it is two-way. First, we are targeting the direct beneficiaries, the primary beneficiaries, which is the young people themselves, on the assumption that they will be on TV. But on the other hand, there are a number of stakeholders who form the support system for young people. And these are the parents, these are the community leaders, these are the teachers, these are the headmasters, these are the local leaders. So this package is comprehensive, and that was the intention of the sexuality education framework by design. Actually, among other things, one of the sessions is interaction about COVID, which will be actually the first session in this series. How is COVID impacting on the young people? How should they cope? How do you build resilience among the young people to cope up with this? And this one now applies to both the young ones and all the people who are surrounding the young people. But sessions like growth, the human growth development, that is critical, knowing the physiology, the anatomy, the body changes among young people. This one, to a very great extent, again, also applies to both, because the young people will get to know, but they need the support of the parents to menstrual hygiene. Even if the child or this young person knows about menstrual hygiene and the parent is not there to provide the sanitary pads, some parents, as a father, you think it is a shame to go and buy sanitary pads for your young ones. It is time we help parents to step out from the quagmire of is it the values or what, but we need to address the needs of the young people. Of course, within our cultural values, within our religious values, and promoting these values to be embedded in the lives of the children we are bringing up.
Thank you, Jackson. I'll go to Charles before I come back to my sister Nicole. Charles, as the key stakeholder of the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health, what do you think is there to learn from this televised life skills and health education series?
Thank you. Maybe just to add a little on what Jackson said, we are also going to cater for young people with disability. We shall be having someone throughout the session. We shall have a sign language expert that will be translating this information to the young people with disability. I just wanted to note that. But just to answer your question, we are living in the world of the new normal. The young people are at home. They are no longer in school. The teachers are also at home. So how do we still reach these young people? For me, I see that what we are piloting today is going to be a big milestone in the way we handle communication for health in the country. First of all, Sexual Reproductive Health Alliance, Rights and Alliance Uganda was mainly doing this in about 150 schools. But how many young people are we going to reach in this period? NTV has a national coverage, and we're going to reach the entire country using this series. And that means that if we want to reach out to a bigger number of young people, we must adopt this kind of communication approaches and partnership with the media houses. We want to express our appreciation to NTV in a special way for accepting and expressing to partner with us on this. But we also want to thank the Ministry of Education especially for accepting, because we know these contents have been discussed for some time, but this is also a clear message to us that what we are talking about are not strange things. They are the things that the young people are experiencing, like Nicole expressed, and we want to address them through these sessions that we are going to air. But also, this also shows us that we need to think about the young people in the rural areas. As an alliance, we are going to cascade this information down to the rural areas. We are also going to partner with other media houses which are regional. But as a country, we also need to think about, because the most affected young people sometimes are also young people who are based in the rural areas. So how do we make sure that this information reaches to them? And our call today, James, just as I conclude, is that the parents and the guardians and all the caretakers, let's mobilize as many young people as possible to benefit from this information that is going to be provided.
Thank you very much, Charles. I look forward to when we finally reach the rural folks through the local regional-based radio stations, and we can reach many young people. Charles, as you exit, I'll prepare to ask Nicole. If there was that one question, Nicole, that you were supposed to ask about your development as a young person, about your growing up, which question would it be?
Thank you so much, James. Ironically, I would bring this question in a way that how best are we going to get everyone on board, especially when it comes to development? Because we have different kinds of people in the country. We have people in Kampala. Yes, for us, we can be able to get to this kind of information. But how about those girls in the rural areas? And believe with me, James, there's a kind of a group of young people that I have not had with many times of advocacy and everything over the lockdown that no one has talked about, and these are child-headed families. We have those kind of young people from those families. Believe me or not, they're going through a kind of trauma you cannot explain, because this is a young person who's taking care of other young people in the family. So the question goes back to the people that have been able to organize this. How are we going to facilitate them to be part of this?
Thank you, Nicole. That's a hard one. Nicole is asking, how do we make the SDGs count, leaving no one behind, right? We want to welcome at this moment, you could introduce yourself, sir. My guest on the left. Very welcome.
Thank you very much. My name is Semakula Henry, and I work with the Guidance and Counseling Department at the Ministry of Education. I'm here on behalf of the Director of Basic and Secondary Education, who had been invited but was unable because of other equally important tasks.
Now that you're here, Henry Semakula, tell us what the Ministry of Education looks at getting out of such a televised life and health skills series on TV.
Thank you very much, James. Now that everybody knows the children at home, of course, there are also those who are home permanently, who are not at school. But given the fact that majority of our young people are school-going, they are not at school, they're at home. Many times when they're at school, there's a lot of learning that takes place, especially on issues of their reproductive health and life skills. We, as you may be aware, have the senior women teachers, the guidance and counseling teachers at school. We have lots of programs, including PSA at school. We have clubs that really help them to interact with some of this information and do a lot of learning. Now that they are not at school and they're at home, and we have had a number of challenges, which I don't need to repeat, because the previous speakers have mentioned the teenage pregnancy and all the like, this is a good avenue for us to reach out to them, just like we've done with learning materials. As you are aware, the ministry sent out academic learning materials through different channels, including TV and radio, and some were just live scripts taken down to the villages. So we hope this is an added effort to reach out to them with more information, because like everybody is scared, we are also scared of the fact that many are losing hope. Many are claiming they're overgrowing, and maybe when they get back to school, the size will be different. The girls have become mothers. Some are still holding pregnancies. They are definitely not certain of returning to school. And even if they are to return, are they going to return to with their pregnancies and all that? So we need to send out a message out there to support them. I think we have also learned as a nation that much as we have always believed the parents are indeed the first teachers, and indeed they are, we know they are somehow overwhelmed. Maybe it is too much on them. They are more used to having this done by the teacher, by any other person rather than them. And just to use the opportunity to also call upon them that we may not know when school may resume, but the children are still with us and they are our children. So even beyond the TV programs and the many other approaches that I used to reach out to these children, try as much as possible as parents to play your part.
Thank you, Semakula. Semakula has mentioned quite interesting things, but among them he has said school is not about to open. And Semakula works for the
I don't
Ministry
want
of
to be
Education.
quoted there. I want to just repeat, because the statement about opening is a very heavy statement that must come from the person who closed the school.
Absolutely.
And that is His Excellency.
Absolutely.
So,
I accept the
let's make the
disclaimer.
statement very clear.
But the facts speak for themselves. At the rate which we're having new cases coming up, it is very important for parents and learners to begin to prepare for their stay at home longer, to prepare the mental state of the young people, to let them know that things are not about to get easier, and for everyone to adapt, to make sure that we are trying to prevent the violence. We are making home a more conducive place for young people to stay. We are giving them roles that match their age. We are giving them information that matches their age. We are restricting their movements in a meaningful fashion. I want to move into the last segment of this program. And I'm going to ask each one of you, we are now launching a TV series, and each of you is going to have their own message to the audience that they represent here on how they should use these messages that are coming out of the series. The series have been recorded using the best of professionals. We have doctors, we have counselors, we have teachers in the series recording. I know Semakula was one of us. So I would want all of you to call the audience that you represent to be part of this series and what they can do. There are a series of 9 segments ranging from growth and development, mental health, dealing with COVID, managing relationships, managing puberty, etc. So I want to begin with Nicole. What are you telling your teenage peers out there?
Thank you, James. Before I give them my message, I would like to send a direct message through Mr. Henry to the Ministry of Education. You realize that education is not only classroom work, history, physics, but so it's a kind of request that when the government is developing the e-learning segments with the schools and everything, there has to be a segment of that, because if I just get joined up into studying history and everything and I forget about my health, that's not healthy, because yesterday I was going through the national school policy draft. Yeah, so you understand that SEHAD is running a RIA for it soon. So how do we get to, when I was reading through it, there was a phrase that a body is not healthier, a body is healthy when it is much into a healthier mind. So how is the Ministry of Education going to add some of those things into it, so that even if we are at home, we know that there's some things, especially about our lives, that are running a bit slow.
So Nicole, call your audience now.
Okay, so thank you. So as a young person, of course, I am calling upon everyone. It is high time we stand up for ourselves. It is time we get to realize that life is more serious. Most of the times, we as the youth, we think when everyone is telling us about these things, it is boring. But it is not boring. These people are not youth anymore. They're trying so hard to make the best for us, because they will not live our future. They are trying to help us live our today so that we live our future better.
Thank you, Nicole. Jackson?
Yeah, thank you very much. Once again, I want to express my excitement that for once we have now a program which is targeting the young people, which is targeting the parents and all the key stakeholders to support our young people to get accurate information about their health, about their growing, about their behavior. I want to challenge the young people to be thirsty for information, look up to these programs and listen to them attentively, and after getting the information, let that information help you in making decisions that will help your future. After getting those decisions, please seek for services. The Ministry of Education has a network of health facilities. Reproductive Health Uganda has youth-friendly corners, and the professional health workers who are ready to support you to access the services. And I want to challenge the parents to support the young people to access this information and also reinforce this information. We are doing this in support of or complementing the work of government, the Ministry of Education, and I want to use this opportunity to appreciate the Ministry of Education for its leadership in helping our young people grow well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson. Semakula.
First of all, to correct Mr. Chekweko when he said Minister of Education has a number of services. I think he meant Minister of Health. Although we also have quite a number, only those that fit in our mandate. Most profoundly, guidance and counseling. We do a lot of guidance and counseling over all these matters. As for me, dear viewers, I really want to thank NTV for accepting to partner with RHU and Ministry of Education to have this program aired. I want to appeal to the parents. The discussion on health and life skills education is important to you as well, because many of you have always claimed you have scanty information, you have less information, you are not sure of what to say. I think listening in to the experts that have been mentioned as being part of this program will help you appreciate what you can do. All the topical areas lined up are very important. One of the reasons why parents now are struggling with their children at home is that they have never really bothered to understand their growth and development. They don't understand them. They know the other humble boy who just puts on uniform, goes to school. They don't understand the other habits of this boy, whether he gets into drugs and the like. The parents, especially the male ones, have never appreciated challenges girls go through when it comes to puberty. So when a discussion of a topic like menstrual hygiene is really very important for them to pick on messages. But also these life skills. The life skills are not taught in the academic curriculum. The life skills can be taught anywhere, even on a funeral rite, even at home. Just teach them to communicate, to be assertive, to avoid peer pressure and so on. But also the issue of the drug abuse, which is inventing our nation. It is sad to learn that it has even infiltrated some of the circles of education institutions. So listening in, we can know how these drugs are really carried. Many of them are not even called by their official names. So we need to learn all these things as parents and see how we can help. Otherwise, I want to thank the organizers.
Thank you, Semakula. And on behalf of Reproductive Health Uganda, Straight Talk Foundation, the Sexual Reproductive Health and Rights Alliance, we want to thank NTV for having partnered with us as we try to make our voice louder. We want to thank the Ministry of Education, which has allowed to grace this and been there to support us all through this process. We know that the time of the shows, 11 to midday, beginning on 31st August for the next 2 weeks after, is not the most conducive, so we are looking to NTV and any other partners of ours that can support us to have these very important sessions aired in the time that is most fit for parents to also watch. Wherever you are, please, we are open and we are happy to have this going out to as many children, as many parents as possible throughout this country. We look forward to get your feedback and we thank you very much. Thank you.